What's something a poor kid would understand, but would utterly confuse a rich kid? Every time you get a little bit ahead, an extra $100 or so, and being able to relax and breathe a bit, the next day something goes catastrophically wrong with the car, or an appliance, or an unexpected late charge on something you forgot about. It never ends. One step forward, two steps back. It's expensive to be poor. The guilt versus gratitude relationship fight you have when your friends share their food with you. Because on one hand you never have enough money to buy enough food to be fully sated, so that extra from your friends is awesome. But on the other hand you understand how awful it is not to have enough food at lunch, and you don't want to put your friends in that position. The other hand you understand how awful it is not to have enough food at lunch, and you don't want to put your friends in that position. Becoming wealthier as an adult now, nothing felt better than paying back a kid who used to give me PBJ sandwiches. Those were everything at the time and he didn't mind, but I was guilt-ridden. My entire identity revolves around food. I use my spare fun money on food now. I give gifts of food, I take friends out to eat. I give people their fav snacks and candy bars as little surprises. We never had enough as a kid. We went hungry every dang day. And now, I express myself through food. I'll bring friends dinner. I'll bake people's favorites. I'll bring my co-workers entire casseroles. I'll take huge pots of soup to our neighbors. I'm getting emotional right now, just thinking about how important the availability of food is to me. I have an 18-year-old co-worker that doesn't eat lunch during break for our 12-hour shift. So I started packing twice as much and I feed her the extra I bring. I just want all my friends and family to be full, to never have to feel hunger like my family did, like I did. I don't want that for them. I wish I could give you multiple upvotes. Sugar sandwiches for dinner, butter, sugar and bread. We thought it was like dessert for dinner, but my mom told us recently it was because we didn't have any food. For us we had butter and sugar toast for breakfast, since my dad needed the milk for coffee and we were out of peanut butter and jam. Brought it to school for lunch a couple times too, though normally the we're out of food lunch was jam or plastic cheese sandwiches. My parents always managed to find something for dinner, even if it was just a grilled cheese sandwich each. I remember when we would go shopping for school clothes, it was at Walmart or Kmart and it was always the sale items and one size up so we could grow into it. And shoes at least an inch too long. Being really young and getting excited about the power cut, lighting candles etc. when really it was because we couldn't afford electricity. Good on your parents for making it a fun event instead of burdening you with the sadness of it all. You get to eat the leftovers which the guest didn't eat, as your parents make the best items for your guests. My Korean family was by no means poor, but man do I feel this one. Back in high school, I was getting flamed for having cheap shoes from Marshalls. Here's something along the lines of how it went. Kid, those shoes are ugly as frick. Me, I agree. I gotta wait for my next paycheck so you can grab some new ones. Kid, why don't you just ask your parents buy you shoes? Me, because they gotta put money in more important places right now. Kid, wait, so your parents don't buy you new shoes? Me, nah, I gotta save up. Kid, look of extreme confusion. The confusion of the kid when he realized that most parents don't buy their kids everything they want was something I won't forget. In typical high school fashion, he then proceeded to tease me for being broke, also explaining to others that the only time I left my home state was for family emergencies was something that they couldn't grasp either. I was a poor kid who was lucky enough to go to a good high school. The downside of that was growing up next to entitled brats. I've seen a girl throw her brand new gold iPhone across the room and not bat an eye because her parents would buy her a new one. Sure enough, the next time I saw her she had one. These are the same kids that crash the new cars they get for their birthdays, get manicures, facials, and eyelash every week despite never working a day in their lives. On the other side, I was scared when I ripped the strap off the backpack I had been using for 4 years. I sewed the dang thing up because I didn't want to stress my mom out with having to find a new one for me. I used it for 2 more years through college until it finally kicked the bucket and I was able to get a new one. Getting upset when clothes, shoes, or other basic items are ruined. If I had a hole in my shoe or a stain or tear on my clothes, I had to live with it, at least for a while. I knew kids in the middle and upper classes that would get chewed out for stuff like that, but their parents would usually buy them new stuff right away. That wasn't the case for a lot of kids like me because it just wasn't possible. Most of the clothes I owned were hand-me-downs to begin with. Some of it was found in the garbage. My friend borrowed my long-sleeve Nike shirt, newly purchased from the Salvation Army, and immediately put thumb holes in it. She just laughed as I flipped my crap. Frick you, tenor. My mom whooped my butt over that. Letter. Parents borrowing birthday money to help with bills or buying food and toiletries. Love them to death. They've always worked hard for me and my sister. Oh, and not having health insurance. Not having health insurance, and then getting slammed with hospital bills that you can't pay back because you couldn't even afford food or electric in the first place. That going to the nearest beach is a vacation. Every term our school would do a thing called Scholastic Books. It's like a catalog of books and other educational things that parents can go through, put what they think their child will like and order them. The school gets a percentage of the sales and the kids get an education-filled Christmas unboxing every term. Almost every kid in my class would get at least one thing. Expect me. So, just sitting in the back of class watching other kids showing off their new stuff to each other. One year a kid left before the order came in and the teacher gave his book to me. Rich kids will never know the feeling of being poor, having it noticed and not being shamed for it. It was the only time I ever got a book from Scholastic and I still have it. Side note, I'm all grown up and I'm not super poor. Every term my mum and I pick a class at the local primary school and buy books for every student that doesn't have a book order in that classroom. It's a mixed school, half rich people and half poor people living in a trailer park struggling to get by. I used to love going through the Scholastic catalog and put a check mark next to all the awesome books I wanted, and fill in the order form on the back as if I was going to get them, and then throw the whole thing in the trash because obviously, we weren't going to buy anything like that, but it was fun to pretend like I was going to. Relaxing in an empty parking lot is your friend's car is a typical night out because nobody has anything at home and don't want to be there anyways because it's too stressful. Oof this. I spend many summer nights ugly crying into a small Carvel ice cream in my car just to get away from my house. The actual process of looking at something in a store and debating whether or not it's really something they need or is it something they want before trying to see if they can find a cheaper version. I feel like this also applies to middle class families or at least Asian families, in my experience. Doing without. Most rich kids have never had to contemplate what it is like being without food or living in a cockroach-infested and safe heck hole before. No one should. You have to get creative for entertainment. Rarely had toys and friends definitely couldn't come over. Sugar rice was very common. So was crap on a shingle. White gravy with meat on white bread was at least once a week. Parents constantly busy with work and side jobs and being exhausted all the dang time. Hand-me-downs were new clothes. Sharing a room with multiple family members. Having to do chores without getting money or a reward. Always getting consoles and games like 5 years after they released and everyone was onto new crap. Bruh, there's a lot. Going to the mall with friends. Not buying anything. Not trying anything on in case you damage it. Not buying any food or snacks. And making excuses why you can't go see the movie with everyone else. Saying you left your phone at home so they don't see the old flip phone or first gen smartphone you've been passed down. Leaving quickly without saying goodbye to anyone, so they don't see your mom pull up in the ancient station wagon your family's had for the last decade. What it is like to eat spaghetti for over a year and a half straight, other than my birthday, that is exactly what I've done and am doing. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate IT. I hate IT. I hate IT. Sorry I had to have a moment. Stressed myself out. I'm no expert at being broke but you should probably get some rice or something. They call it intermittent fasting by not eating breakfast but that's pretty standard to me how I grew up. Not eating breakfast, lunch, dinner because there was no food. Being able to save change means that times are decent. Also finding your piggy bank empty because your parents were short on bill money. According to some other people I know, it's a lack of cleanliness. Don't know if that's the right word for it. An ex-neighbor of mine, older lady, requested me specifically to help clean her property and pack her stuff when she was moving. Apparently she asked for me because she knew I'd understand, in regards to the state of her house and the yard. I mean, she was right. My family also had a bit of a white trash redneck kind of property, with all the trappings, but it didn't dawn on me that other people also did it. I wouldn't expect anyone who isn't from the country or didn't live on a street in the woods with no streetlights to understand the nuances of the way a redneck yard and house looks and operates. Yes, we have a bug problem and at least 2 defunct broken cars sitting in the grass, but I promise we're not crazy stereotypes. It's safe, I assure you. That the next excursion with the school is not too expensive to be able to go and have fun with your friends. I remember I was acting like PFFF that for kids I don't go to that, but I wanted to go but I couldn't. Being worried about starting the school year without the books because they've changed them and they're not like last year's and you need new books and they're very expensive. Not saying where you live because you're ashamed to live in the worst building in town. Not being able to buy the new jacket or hoodie that everyone has. And if you're from a rich town like me it's 15 times worse because for them rich it's like normal. Riding your crappy, undersized broken bike to school because your parents are busting their butt at a job they hate just to barely pay the rent. When I was a small and nimble child, my father would slip me into the vents of his client's house to scare the rats out, whereupon my siblings would be waiting to bludgeon them to death with the family soup ladles. We were a whole family of ratters. We lived rats, killed rats and, when times were tough, ate rats too. Sounds like a young Charlie Kelly. Go to walk in the center of the street when it's late at night. You order all the toppings when it's no extra price. Don't buy the dollar water from the street vendor. 40. Too tall boys when it comes to price point. Double cheeseburger with mac sauce. They sell liquor if you know how to order in cash only dine-ins. You fold the bill and hold in your fingers between middle and ring as you high five to exchange. If they come with a crew you bail. Goya. Your mother says it's dinner time. You eat what she can afford to make or go hungry, no exceptions. Or proudly teaching your child there is nothing wrong to shop in the reduced section of the supermarket or visit a charity shop and have them love the savings they get by doing so and beg you to go back for more cheap deals. Driving with the check engine light on all the time. Can't get a new car. Can't get it fixed, but have to take it to get to work so you can make rent. Just drive and hope it doesn't stall out or blow up. Using your clothing as first aid items such as a sweatshirt being a splint wrapping. Also eating the common leftover food items. You can't be that much of a picky eater if there are leftovers. Camping was a vacation. No, I've never been to Disney. No, I've never been outside the US. Yes, even Canada. Thrift shopping school clothes was back to school shopping, and dollar store for supplies. Will the electric bill get paid this month or will there be groceries? Nobody knows. Expiration dates are more like suggestions than fact. They have to set them earlier than they actually expect the food to expire so as to avoid complaint. Had a roommate throw out all of my and our other roommate's food because it was a week before the expiration date. She honestly didn't understand why we were livid. She thought she was helping. Saving trash. Rich people don't bother with food scraps or the boxes things came in, because why would you store trash in your fridge closet instead of getting rid of it now? So a little off tangent here, but one thing I don't think people understand is that being poor in an urban area sucks. But I'd argue in many ways, being poor in a rural area sucks even more. In my adult life, escaped from the poor forgotten town I grew up in, I've met a lot of other people who grew up poor also, and the ones from larger areas the story is like, oh thank God we had things like the local Y or whatever after school tutoring program for poor kids or teach music and the ghetto type stuff, and it's like, crap, we didn't have any of that. You were just dirt poor and no one freaking knew your town even exists or gives a dang about it. So yeah, that's one thing I've heard from even other former poor kids. They'll ask things like what community programs did you go to or the like, and I have to explain, hey, we didn't even have that crap. We were just all poor out in the boonies with nothing around, and even our own state government pretended that part of the state doesn't exist. In the US in February you get better crap than Christmas when the income tax check hit. We'd get new shoes and have cable for a couple months. Even McDonald's. Haha, been so long I forgot about that crap. Why you get to eat but your parent don't. Bologna and mustard for lunch every day. Beanie weenies. For those of you who don't know, you take beans and hot dogs and combine them. Beanie weens. Egg noodles and parmesan. Don't ever get ice in your fast food drinks. You get less soda and you don't need your drink to stay cold if you drink it fast since they keep it cold in the fountain dispenser. Group daycare. All of the poorer kids at my elementary school all went to the same group daycare when they were preschool. Kids with richer parents either had a stay-at-home parent or had their own personal babysitter. Cooking everything, including pizza, from scratch because restaurants and pre-made food are too expensive. On the rare occasion food was purchased from a restaurant. It was either because my father was out of town, or we were buying leftover cold chicken, not the freshly cooked hot chicken, from the local chicken shack. If you learn how to cook properly, home cooked meals are usually much better than pre-made food anyway. Unfortunately, most poor people have to work so long and hard, they have no time left to cook properly or even learn how to do so. Genuine story. My son's friend who was about 10 at the time didn't know how to wind down his window in our car. He had always used electric windows. This scenario depends on when it happened. Most 10-year-olds today have never seen roll down windows. Fruit juice, even the fake kind, is a luxury. Boxed mac and cheese with cut up hot dogs baked into it is a dang fine casserole. Salvation Army sells prom dresses that are in great shape. Duct tape on shoes isn't just a fashion statement, it's a necessity. Space heaters are for when your gas utility gets cut off, and all the windows are open because the electric got cut off and we need a light in the house. There are more, but I think that's pretty comprehensive. LOL. Navigating higher education when your parents didn't go to college. So much of your success in college is based on your ability to utilize on-campus resources and meeting with faculty and staff about opportunities and for assistance. That all wasn't totally obvious to me, and I feel like it really inhibited my success in school. I remember having to turn down an offer for an internship in DC because it was unpaid and I didn't know there was an office at school that would help find funding to live there. Getting the financial aid office and the financial service office confused on a regular basis and feeling super stupid because of it is also a fond memory. Doing all your own work on your house and learning how to do all this work on your own. Bathroom leak, dad learns how to do basic plumbing. Need to do some basic wiring, dad learns basic electrical. Need to add a new addition to the house, dad learns basic carpentry. Need the roof reshingled, dad learns how to reshingle a roof. Broken window, dad learns how to install new glass or replace an entire window. By the time I was 12, I was learning how to do carpentry, mechanics, wiring, plumbing, construction, landscaping, metalwork, welding, building, renovations and repairing. I learned how to drive a truck at 13, tractor at 14 and heavy equipment at 16. By the time I was 20, I could fix and maintain anything in my own house. By the time I was 30, I could literally build an entire house and everything that goes with it on my own. I wasn't the best, the fastest or the most efficient, but I could do just about anything with my own hands. I grew up in a remote native community where we had no easy access to construction workers, plumbers, electricians or mechanics. We had to learn how to do all these things on our own. It's amazing what you can learn to do when are forced to. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.